Working Mommy Manual listeners.
It's still St. Patrick's Day.
And watchers.
Yes.
It's or Irish Thanksgiving, as Kathleen's been calling it all day.
Yes.
Actually, she called it that once. Now I can't stop saying it.
It'll be like that forever.
We have a special guest star today.
We actually have one of my favorite guest stars.
Who
you say that.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if he's as I don't know, anxious about it as Perry was, because I think Perry on the last episode was also equally as nervous about it, that he had that look of that hostage situation.
He said, I thought Dale was doing this with me. I go, oh no, you guys were always scheduled separate.
Yes, he thought you were doing it together.
Yeah.
Right.
We said, no, honey, you are so low. But you know what? He did amazing.
He did.
He set the bar high, Dale. I'm just
well,
saying.
Thanks. I needed that extra pressure.
Yeah. No, we're all about pressure here. We're all about trying to bring the best out of you by things like pressure, negative reinforcement, intimidation, potential beating. I don't know.
We're positive people.
Spot.
Yeah. That's so welcome.
Thank you.
So Dale Wilson is the better half or the other half of Kathleen Wilson.
Yeah.
Yes.
The other half.
Yes.
And he walks the walk of being a supportive partner to a working mom who works in a very demanding, high-pressure job. So we brought him in to really represent how all men should be, right? So again, with the pressure, Dale, also everyone hates you now.
Yeah, exactly.
Everyone hates you. They're like, that man is a fucker.
Yeah.
And actually, Dale is not a fucker.
Oh, yeah.
That has been my joke.
Yes.
Because Dale has always been an awesome husband. Here's true. This is true. I used to be very jealous of you and Dale because you used to have date nights on Fridays and Saturdays, and you'd go out and watch a game and hang out with friends or just do it the two of you, and you'd have an adventure, and I would be so jealous of you.
Oh.
But now I'm not, because I have a boyfriend who does adventures with me and goes
I
out.
love it.
Many of the same things.
Yeah.
Yes.
So basically, I was looking for you, Dale.
Well,
I was coming for you.
But I'm glad that you found something.
You were taken, and I was like, who's runner up? Who is runner up?
And you found something more impressive.
No, I found someone equally as impressive.
Yes.
So, but Dale's been in the trenches with you since take us back.
Oh my gosh.
Take us back.
Well, in the
This is after you broke up with, was it Derek Jeter? No, who was the Yankee that you dated?
Oh my God. Well,
Wait,
first time
who
was
was
the
it?
Mariners.
Okay, but then he became a Yankee.
Yes.
Alex Rodriguez.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
so Kathleen.
I was 19 years old, people.
But you were a super hot 19-year-old. And we did that side by side of the woman that he had the affair with from Southern Charm.
Oh.
And you all looked identical.
So
he's going to type.
Yeah.
And it's 19-year-old Kathleen Wilson. But anyway, so she broke up with
we didn't even date. We just didn't engage.
Hooked up?
No, we didn't even hook up. We just were like, let's go to dinner or whatever.
But he had your cell phone number, and she called him when he won the World Series.
There were no cell phones in 1997.
Oh, was it a pager?
Yeah,
you had his pager number.
I had a pager.
But he paged you. You paged him, and he called you after the World Series.
Yes, he did.
So I don't know what kind of.
Setting the bar nice and high.
No, okay, so we were not.
Are you feeling the?
Wait,
oh my God!
I wasn't feeling any pressure.
You might be sweating now.
Yeah, I know.
Excellent. This is exactly where we wanted you.
We were not going that far back in the time machine.
All right.
We were going back to 1998.
Okay, 1998. Right. Set the scene.
I was 22 years old.
Aww.
Anyway, Dale and I actually worked out at the same gym, and we had been seeing each other, eyeballing each other for quite some time. And
had you been eyeballing her?
I was eyeballing him.
Yeah.
You were? Oh,
yeah,
I saw pictures of her at 19, so I would have been eyeballing her too.
Yeah. She's still
22.
She
is
isn't. You are
old now. But
you are not.
Yeah.
That is okay. We are not saying old anymore. What are we saying?
Oh, better. No, we said
you're
big
fired.
age.
We're saying okay.
Big age.
You're rehired.
Oh. We're at big age.
Big age.
Okay,
Yeah, we are.
So anyway, I met Dale. I don't want to go into the whole thing, but we met back at the gym. And so a bunch of us were going out to Pioneer Square in Seattle we were taking a 21-year-old out for his 21 run. I was 22, turning 23.
So you were old hat at it.
I was like, let's get our stamps. Let's get our stamp on our wrist and let's go. So we went out and he's like, do you mind if I bring a friend? I'm like, absolutely. So there's going to be a whole bunch of us. And meanwhile, I have to tell the story one time. My roommate, we had gone out on Friday night. And mind you, in Washington State, they have
Serial
liquor
killers.
stores.
No.
Yes, they have
Okay.
serial killers and
We have
liquor
those too,
stores. The Pacific Northwest. Anyway, we went to the liquor store and we got these things to make Tom Collins. Anyway, long story short, I forgot to put the mixer in. She was drinking straight vodka and we went out that night. Yeah, that's what happened. Then Saturday, we were
She drank straight vodka.
She's like,
all night.
all night.
No, she goes, this is so strong. And so I take a sip. Meanwhile, in the 90s, remember you made everything out of squeegee bottles with the big straw?
Yes.
So meanwhile.
Or you put vodka
yes.
in here.
Yes,
right?
Exactly. So she.
Which I also did recently at a Mormon wedding to sneak vodka in.
That's outstanding.
Sorry, Grove family.
Gosh, we are winners.
Okay, so you all went out.
So we went out on Saturday night, and my roommate was supposed to go with us, but she was too hungover. She was playing in a Nicole sitting on the couch, and so she was not going. So when I opened the door to the trainer, I saw Dale standing there. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's the guy from the gym. And one of my girlfriends, I worked out with her. She was with us, and I go, it's the guy from the gym. Like we've always been talking about him.
Aww.
So anyway, so he drove us around that night. We went out.
Did you know that you were going to be meeting up with her?
Did you know?
Yeah,
it was
I
me?
had an idea. It was
I've
her.
never asked that question.
I'm glad I can help.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
He wasn't the person that Kathleen's talking about. Wasn't a friend. He was a trainer. I was relatively new to Seattle, to the area.
Like 3 months.
Yeah, I'd been there about 3 months, so I didn't know really anybody. So I lived at the gym because I didn't have anything else to do. So when he asked if I wanted
Remember
to go,
those days?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
it was
and then
great.
you're just like, you worked out. But it's so funny. I'm like, he's like, well, what do you do for cardio? I go clubbing. Not Dale didn't ask that.
Okay.
No.
By the way,
Yeah.
that is true.
Yes.
Because research shows your metabolism doesn't slow down significantly. But
Until you stop dancing.
well, that's the thing is that it's not that your metabolism is lower in your 50s or your 40s.
Right.
It's that you're not going out clubbing and dancing Thursday, Friday, Saturday, occasional Sunday
Some
nights.
other things you're not doing as much.
Well,
probably also,
right.
But yeah.
Well, and then also, smoking cigarettes and, dancing 5 nights a week.
Right.
And living on vodka was, that was.
And Taco Bell.
That is, I didn't do Taco Bell.
Oh, we always did Taco Bell late night on the way home.
No.
Yes.
Oh, we didn't. We did pizza. We did
Okay.
Antonio's Pizza at UMass Amherst. Okay. So go ahead.
So,
you,
anyway.
so you kind of had an inkling it was her, but
Yeah, I had an idea. And
were
there
you
were
excited
actually,
when you saw it was her?
I was excited. Yeah. There were, but I didn't think,
That's so
honestly,
cute.
and you'd have to, you know me pretty well. I didn't have the confidence that she would be interested in me at the time. Even though I was in pretty good shape and had a pretty good job at the time.
Also, for those of you listening and not watching, Dale's a hottie.
He is a hottie.
He is a hottie.
I was maybe
still.
at one point. But
You still
anyway.
are. That's
You're-
ridiculous.
you're a big-
Self-deprecating.
It's so ridiculous.
Yeah.
You
So
know what?
anyway, that's why I didn't have the confidence.
I want comments.
Yes, I didn't have the confidence. But Kathleen will probably tell the rest of that part of the story. But I had an idea that she would be there. I didn't know if she had a boyfriend or if she was already seeing anybody or anything like that.
So then
So the
You
door
hit
opened and
it
she
off.
was there and I was there. And
I was like,
Yeah.
And then, so we all went out.
So was it love connection that night?
Yes.
Um,
Actually, I feel
I mean,
like.
we didn't hook up or anything
Right,
like
but you
that.
were like,
but yes,
oh,
we
this
were definitely
is
interested.
someone.
Yeah.
But it was a big group that went out. It was like 10 or 12 people.
Yeah.
So, it was
Otherwise
not us
called
just sitting in a
dating.
quiet, intimate restaurant or anything like that. It was a big group and we were partying and dancing. And so I didn't know at that point that, I would have a chance with Kathleen. So you can take it from there.
Aw.
So he drops us back off at my apartment, and the trainer had to use the restroom. So I'm like, all right, go ahead. So I take him upstairs. I was like, thanks for driving. It was so great to finally meet you. And so I go upstairs, and I'm thinking the trainer, he's going to be in there for like just use the restroom and about. He was in there for like, I don't know how long, 5 minutes.
It was a while.
It was a long time. And finally I was like, this is weird. Is he going through all my bathroom stuff? Like, is he in? Like, I don't.
Does he need a tampon?
I mean, that's what I wondered too. And so then I go downstairs and Dale's waiting. I'm like, I
I
don't
was
know
still waiting.
what he's doing in my bathroom, but he's taking forever. And then we started talking. I'm like, I really appreciated you driving. I shook his hand. I kind of, just.
You shook his
Shut up.
hand.
She was laying the groundwork, but
That's-
I was slow on the uptake. So I didn't really realize that. at the time.
But he was so.
Oh, a 20-year-old boy was slow on the uptake?
Yeah, I know, it's
I
hard
got
to
two of those, and that also tracks.
Yeah.
Got it?
No game. And
No game.
I had no game.
Stop.
So,
No game.
No, that's the truth. So, yeah. Sorry.
So anyhow, so I go back upstairs and the trainer is like, how about I stay here and I send my friend home? I go, absolutely not. Nope, you're going home. So I sent him down his way and it's not like there was social media. I didn't get any of Dale's information. We didn't have to exchange phone numbers.
But you knew where to find him.
Yeah, pretty confident we'd see
But
each
you know
other at the
what?
gym.
This is the 90s when people wore the leotards on the outside of remember back in the 90s, people wore the leotards on the outside
Yes.
of their leggings or whatever.
Yes.
And everybody's like, Jane Fonda, whatever.
Yes.
No, not me. I'm in sweatpants. I mean, I dress like a nun. I'm in sweatpants with like the sweatpants
You
with
do.
the elastic around your ankle and a sweatshirt. That's how I roll to the
Kathleen.
gym. And a hat.
That's how adorable you were, that even that disastrous gym outfit was not enough to turn off Dale.
Oh my God.
No,
It's so funny. Anyway.
So anyway, so you've been together. So
So
then
we've been together a long time.
and then
Almost
you
30 years, actually.
And so okay, so
Yeah.
almost 30 years. So you dated, you moved here,
Yep.
you got married in what year?
2000.
Okay, and
Yep.
then you started having babies in
2005. So we were
2005.
together for 7 years before we had kids. I mean,
God, were our oldest children born in 2005?
Yeah.
It sounds like we're so old.
I know. And so,
It feels like it sometimes.
Oh.
right.
Old.
Well, the
Oh.
grief they give us, I swear to you, Anyway, so
We love you, children.
we do
Yes.
love you.
The
love
odds are
you.
good they're never going to listen to the podcast.
Yes, they will.
I really hope not. I think my children would be extra damaged by all the
Well,
things.
yeah, thanks to you guys. I don't want mine listening to it.
No. Jack
I
will
won't
have to
bring
go
up
to
any
therapy just
particular
for my, like, the things
Yeah.
when I do a Jack voice.
I know. I do like when you do Jack's voice.
Yeah.
And so anyhow, so that was it. That was a Sunday. And then a couple days later, we went to the gym. I think it was the middle of the week or something. And I ran into him at the gym. I was working out and he came over and said hello. And I was like, oh, that's so nice.
Did you think this is the man I'm going to marry?
Well, and he asked, no, not then. He asked, I'll tell you when I knew I wanted to marry him.
Oh,
though.
tell me.
So,
Tell me.
I told you.
Okay.
It was, we had, so he asked me basically, where do you work? So I told him the company I worked for. And a couple days later, they
It
called
wasn't
up
Glamour
there.
Shots anymore?
It
It
wasn't.
was not
I
Glamour
grew
Shots.
from Glamour Shots. Yes.
Thankfully, because I might not have asked her out if she was still at Glamour.
You would have asked her out and
Yeah.
she would have made you sit for a portrait.
Probably, yeah.
For sure.
And then we would have still had that.
yes, that's exactly it.
So you told him where you worked.
So, and then he called a couple days later, and I remember
He
I was
called the
working-
office?
He called the office because we didn't have cell
I know. So
phones.
I dated a guy who did the same thing. I ran
Yes.
into him at a club
Yeah.
when I was in my 20s and he asked me where I worked. And I said, I'm not going to tell you because you're not going to remember. We're all drunk. He
Right.
said, no, I'm going to remember. I said, no, you're not. And he was super hot. And he pulled me in and gave me this big kiss. And then I was like, on his forehead, I was like, Squire, nap, done. And he remembered and he called me. So anyway, so that
It's the tapping method.
it's the tapping method.
She
It's,
just talked about
I
that
calmed
last
his nervous
podcast.
system and
Yes.
helped him
Right.
solidify the,
Remember.
yes.
Yep.
Anyway, so he called you at work.
And then he just said, I would love to have lunch with you. And I said, let's do it. And you know what? No, it was not. I was confusing myself. I was thinking it was around,
Confusing me with another guy
no,
already.
not another guy.
With Alex Rodriguez?
Yeah, exactly. It's easy. It could happen. I can totally see how it
It was
happened.
100%.
It was around, I felt like it was around St. Patrick's Day, but it was May. We met in May. And so anyway, I was getting ready for work. And, I was so excited. I was so nervous that I didn't even tell my roommate what was happening that day. And so I worked in the Columbia Tower in downtown Seattle and he came up and we went, it's like working in a big city, out as like working in major cities. It's like everything you need is in that building. You've got food and florist and Hallmark and dry cleaner, like everything is there. You don't need to leave the building. So he met me for lunch. And then we made plans to go out, or my birthday was coming up or something. You came out. Anyway, we went for lunch to that day and we have been inseparable since.
Pretty much,
Aw.
Mhm.
That is amazing.
Yeah. That's a
That
long
is
Doesn't
really-
mean it's always been easy.
No.
Well, and that is why I appreciate you coming on because I knew you would be real about it because you can't be with someone for almost 30 years
Right.
yeah.
and there not be times where y'all are like, is this gonna really work? And I also think it's incredibly difficult to meet someone in your 20s and grow in a direction that continues to mesh. I think everyone has their own path. So people always talk about growing together, and there's a degree of that, but I think it's about growing in a way that still leaves that connection for the two of you to have.
Right.
And I think that's I would love to hear about some of your thoughts about how you were able to do that. And you probably weren't even, or you might have been thoughtful about it, but you can look back and say, oh, we did these things where we were connected and we made sure that these things were happening.
Well, I know one thing that we used to do for years. We had goal books. Remember, we would sit down. Is that so nerdy?
I love
nerdy
that.
I don't think it was nerdy. I think, and I was going to answer your question before Kathleen did, but I think that it goes back to being intentional about who you decide, that you're going to try to spend the rest of your life with, if that makes sense. So there were people who I dated once and I knew right away I never wanted to date them again, and
Right.
And so I think early on you for us at least, we both had common interests and we had common goals, and that made that sort of organic growth easier, if that
Right.
makes sense. So, but I do agree with you that there are, especially when you're talking long marriages, 30 years or 40 years or 50 years, that people do sometimes unwittingly, sorry, I'm chastised, that they do
Dale's a
unwittingly.
tapper.
Yeah, I am a tapper. Sorry, nervous tapper. That they do unwittingly, through no fault of their own, they do grow apart. And I don't always think that's good or bad. It just is what it is.
I agree.
You can't expect people to not grow over the course of 30 or 40 or 50 years. And sometimes it happens and sometimes they do grow apart, and, that's okay. So
to underscore your point, I also think that when two people are working and they are professional and they're raising a family, that it can be very easy to fall into running Family Inc.
Right.
So you're together, but you're on these separate train tracks, and you are living this life and your spouse or your partner is living this life. And so I think that what I've observed is you've done a very good job. I think the goal books are important because you talked about how do you want to grow? What are your mutual things that you're trying to get to? So it wasn't just Kathleen driving the bus or you driving the bus. It was you were both driving the bus. You were taking turns. When you was sleeping, the other one you were taking the breaks.
True.
You were like, "Ooh, I got to get up and take a potty break."
Yeah.
You were doing it together,
right?
So
that is accurate, actually.
Yeah.
And so I think the dating were you always intentional about having date night?
I think so. I mean, we really enjoy spending time together.
Yeah, I don't know that we intentionally said it's going to be date night. I think that we just most of the time chose to spend our time together, And I was never a huge like guys' night. I got to go out with the guys or the boys tonight. I usually, if I had free time, I wanted to spend it with Kathleen, and that's just kind of what we did. So.
Because you said to yourself, "I have a super hot
Yeah,
wife.
exactly. I better take care of
I
it."
ain't going out with the guys.
Exactly.
Well,
I don't need a sausage fest. I'm going out with my super hot wife."
Yes.
Right. And that's not to say that I never did.
No, you
trips
have
with
guys. You have
Yes.
guy friends.
Yeah.
I also think that is important to
Yes.
have.
Right.
Because I think you can get into a relationship that is too codependent.
I was going to say almost codependent. Yeah.
But you do have good friends outside of Kathleen, and Kathleen has good friends outside of you, and you have that group together too.
Yes.
Right.
But you have your own relationships outside.
Yes.
And again, it goes back to setting that framework. I think that, that's the most important relationship, right? For me. So the guys are great and I love my friends, but she's always going to take priority. So.
Kathleen.
I
Oh my God, I'm going to start crying.
I know. And it's I feel very fortunate because, I feel very fortunate, and a lot of the podcast listeners understand my upbringing is I was raised by a single mom with 5 kids. My dad was super crazy, just not reliable, never around, bad person.
Not a great guy.
And so I was very particular, on who I was dating and to talk about being intentional. I wanted to be intentional about who I was going to choose to be my life partner because I was not going to go down that path. Like with
Okay,
crazy.
can you wait? I want us to talk about fighting
Oh, yeah.
because that happens.
Yes.
But Kathleen, you have to tell the story about your first major fight. I
Oh
love
my
this
God.
story so
I've
much.
told
It's
this
the
a lot.
best.
I've
It's the
told this
best.
a lot on the
I don't know if I
podcast.
know this
This is
story.
a good
you
one.
do.
Yeah,
You'll
you do.
remember.
Well, you were there.
You'll remember.
Yeah,
You'll
I'll
remember.
remember it.
So what happened was, Dylan and I got into a big fight about. I can't even remember what the fight was about, but I
You
know.
never can.
That's usually
Yeah,
true. Yeah.
Brooklyn was a baby. I do remember that. She's going to be 21 soon. So she was a baby, and I was all pissed off, and I probably did my Peg Bundy walk to my closet, and I had the baby in my arm. And so I pull out, I had a pink suitcase because I loved
Of course
it.
you
I know.
did.
I had a pink suitcase. I was just,
Oh my God.
with
Okay,
one
Elle from Legally
hand,
Blonde.
right? From
Exactly.
one hand, I'm like throwing shit into the
So
suitcase.
you have Brooklyn, the baby,
Yeah.
in the one arm.
Yeah.
You have your pink suitcase you're
Yep.
loading up with the other arm.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Dylan comes in, he's like, "What are you doing?" And I go, "Well, are you leaving or am I leaving?" He goes, "No one has to go anywhere. We can fight and it's fine." And I'm like, "We can?" Like, I didn't know that. Someone always left in my household for days. Anyway, so he's really taught me a lot of the healthy things that should be in relationships. I think that's been very helpful.
Yeah.
Were there things that you did throughout the years, like not fight in front of the children, or when you did, because people are going to have fights,
Right.
Right.
No, I wish, it's funny. I was just, as Kathleen was saying that, I wish that were a rule that we had followed because it's a rule my parents followed.
Right.
And my parents were married almost 60 years
Yep.
or just a little over 60
Yes.
years
Mhm.
before my mom passed
Yeah.
away. And I never saw them fight. I don't think in my entire time growing up I ever saw them fight. So that's one of our regrets. And, we have some regrets, but I think that's probably one of our biggest ones is that we did fight in front of them.
But it wasn't like we had knockdown dragouts all the time.
No.
I mean, there were a couple fights that
Yeah.
there was no getting away from the kids to have the argument. And so it was loud and that was it. And we talked about it and, and I think it's healthy for the kids to see an argument and to see
If you can resolve it
Yes.
amicably and
And
peacefully.
I'm not talking about how I grew up. I'm
Right,
talking
yeah.
about how normal
Yeah.
people fight. That you can and know that the spouse is still going to be the other day. You're going to say your apologies. I didn't mean that, but maybe you did. And just work through it, or how just work through the whole thing, and so that they see that makeup. I guess.
I agree with you that I think it's also levels of fight. Don't have a knockdown drag out in front of your children.
Mhm.
Like
Right.
table that
Yeah.
and pick it up when it's just the two of you.
Yep.
But I do think it's good for kids to see some kind of disagreement or argument because, quite frankly, my ex and I, we never fought in front of the children. That was a rule, and we never did it, but we barely fought. We just
Mhm.
had no commonalities by the time, like the last 15 years of our marriage. And I thought, so back to your point, I thought, well, we're not fighting in front of the children, and I'm checking that box.
Yeah,
like, aren't I a good person?
Right.
And looking back on it, I wasn't a good person. I was just disassociated from the fact that I had no connection with this person.
That
We
makes
didn't
sense.
fight because we had
Nothing to fight about.
There was nothing to fight about. And so when I did tell the children that we were getting divorced, it was a complete shock to them because they had no idea.
Right.
That we didn't fight.
Right.
But so I also think it's important because you have to model good behavior, right? So if
Mhm.
you show your children that you fight and that you don't have to get your pink suitcase out and leave,
Right.
I think that is incredibly healthy.
Yes.
So anyway,
Yeah.
I think you did a good job on that.
Thank you.
To
We try.
be determined. We'll see when
We still fight sometimes.
when we get that. But I don't think
Not a lot.
No.
It's
Well,
definitely-
it's probably disagreement.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's exactly
disagreement
it.
is
Well, that's
different.
right. I was thinking when you were saying fight that word has such a bad connotation. It's not always a fight. Sometimes it's just a disagreement or it's a fundamental difference on opinion.
Right.
And it's okay to have those. But yeah, I don't think that we fought a ton.
Mm-mm.
I also think it's weird for people to think that their spouse or partner is going to have the exact same opinion that they're going to have and that they're not going to have disagreements. Like, I remember, and you probably did this too. So when my ex and I first got married, we moved into a subdivision. Everyone was our same age. They were all recently married. We all hung out together. And one day I was going to Home Depot with one of the wives, and I'm driving the car, and I said something about a fight or a disagreement, and the woman said, "Well, I never have. I've never fought with my husband," and I almost drove off the road. And I got back home and said to my husband at the time, he said, how was Valerie? I'm like, oh, her and Kelly are getting divorced sometime.
At some point in the
That's
future.
what I said. That's
Right.
not real. That is
Right.
that is fantasy land.
Right.
So I actually think it's good to have
It's healthy.
fights and disagreements and recognize going into a marriage that you should be on the same page with most things, but
Right.
no one is going to be 100%
Right.
No.
in agreement with you all the time. That's just weird.
Well, I think that part of that goes back to having a single mom that always made all the decisions. And so when Dale and I bought our first house and we were trying to decorate for the house, and Dale had a lot to say about all the stuff, and I was like, "This is so weird." I'm like, "I don't know," and we kept arguing about it. It
Like
was-
I should be able to keep my black leather couch.
No,
But
and I did not
didn't.
want a black leather couch. And so anyhow, so we went back and forth, and I called my mom and I'm like, "Mom, I don't understand. Like all we do is argue about this." But at the end vision without the black leather couch was our vision.
Yeah, it was much nicer.
It was. I mean, that's what we always like. Getting there was just like, and then we would get there and we're like, we both wanted this. Anyhow, my mom said, well, that's the beauty of being single. I didn't have to answer to anybody. I just did what I wanted to do and be done. And I was like, dang. And she's like, you have to compromise. You've got to talk with him. You've got to be able to make decisions with each other and kind of go along with it. So I was like, okay.
Well, and that's a learning process, and you learned about it together and you got on the same page
Right.
and you worked through it.
Yes.
You have honest discussions. I think it's about having open, honest discussions, right?
Yes.
Okay,
Sure.
I have a sidebar on black leather furniture. So when I was doing my first internship in DC, I was staying with my uncle who was recently divorced. He had a condo. He was going to live overseas most of the year. So I was going to live in this
Bachelor
bachelor pad.
Yeah.
And he said, I don't really have any furniture right now, but I'm getting some. I'll be here before you get here. I said, I'm sure it's going to be great. As long as you didn't get like a bunch of black leather couches and chairs.
Of course.
Crickets.
Yeah.
And then I realized my mistake. I said, oh, I'm just joking. Black leather furniture is amazing.
Yeah.
So yeah.
It is for single guys.
He still has that black leather.
Oh my God.
He still has that in his, yes, he married the right woman, let me tell you, because the first thing I would have done was burn
Yes.
it.
Yes.
Burn it.
Yeah. I think it's funny. We joke about that. I think the reason that I had a hard time giving it up is that was my first independence. I mean, it was the first furniture I bought, and I was pretty proud of being able to put all of that stuff together, and so it was an emotional attachment as much as it was, the couch.
Absolutely.
So-
you didn't think this
Yeah.
it belongs in, some kind of
Yeah.
like architectural digest magazine.
Yep, exactly.
You just thought this
Yeah,
is
it was important. So if I
I
had a
remember my
garage
first
back then, it
couch.
would be in the garage.
It probably would still be in the
Probably
garage.
in the
still in
man
the
cave.
garage.
It can
Yeah,
go in the man
exactly.
cave.
Yes.
Look, goes in the man
But
cave.
now I wouldn't want one in my house. So
No.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, so I have a question
We go.
for you.
Yeah.
I have a question for you because when you have a woman, when you're married to a woman who is a high-powered executive and your wife is a chief operating officer of a company, she is out there killing it. She is working long hours. She is all in on what she does. How, as you grew, while she was growing within her profession, how did you navigate making sure that didn't make you feel smaller? Because I think a lot of men struggle with that.
justifiably, I think they do struggle, and I wouldn't sit here and say I didn't or haven't struggled
Okay.
with that. That would be disingenuous. But I don't know the exact right way to answer that question. But it is a reality that as you have an idea in your head of what men are supposed to be, especially for somebody who grew up in an old-fashioned household. So when you start deviating from that plan or that idea of what a male supporter looks like, it is a challenge for sure. And but I think that maybe when we had the kids, that it got easier to accept that was going to be her role, and then mine would be different than what I had imagined. And at the end of the day, that was what was best for our family. And so
Exactly.
you have to give up some of what you had planned, and you have to swallow your pride a little bit sometimes, which is hard for men, most men,
It is.
But for me, it was just about keeping the long-term, goal or what was best for the family or for us in mind. And so it made it easier. So
Yeah.
Makes
Well,
me want to cry.
it doesn't mean that it's always that's gone. There's still times where I think, my career could be somewhere different.
if you
Sure,
hadn't
had I
taken
not taken a backseat sometimes to Kathleen's. But she's very, as you know, very good at what she does, and I was smart enough to realize that early on and just let her go with it. So
Well, and
not let her go, but you know what I mean.
no, I do. Well, it's interesting because I have so my best friend from high school, she ran Vistaprint. She was president and CEO of Vistaprint.
Mhm.
And she actually, and her husband he had a master's degree. He was an engineer. He worked for General Electric. But at a certain point, when at first she ran, like she came up through the ranks, she came up through marketing, and then she ran the European division. But by the time they made her president and CEO, it was clear something had to give. And so her husband, who was very highly qualified, as you are, educated, but
Mm-hmm.
you make this decision, who has a little bit more wiggle room in
Right.
whatever they're
Exactly.
doing.
Yeah.
And because you own your own business, you had more flexibility. And so anyway, her husband, he decided to stay home. Now he's in his mid 50s. So back in the day, like in the 90s her kids are like, so early 2000s, like men didn't stay home. Like they really didn't. And he struggled with it, really struggled with it. He talked to me about it. And he talked to her about it. It wasn't, secret.
Right.
But when he was 50, he started telling people, well, I'm retired.
Mhm. I
And
totally
then
get
people
that.
are like, oh, who's this
I love
boss?
that.
And how is
Exactly.
he, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
maybe.
I would argue there's still a stigma. I
For
totally
sure.
understand what you're saying about the 90s and, moving into the 2000s. I think there's still a giant stigma. And,
There is.
if you tell the wrong person, the wrong man that, you're going to lose respect automatically. I don't really care about respect from people like that personally, but it's still a very real thing.
It is. And I think it's detrimental to women because when I got pregnant with my first child, everyone asked me, are you going to stay home with the baby? Are you going to stay home with the baby? Are you going to stay because the default is the woman has to stay home with the baby, right?
Mhm.
So it is a detriment to professional women that our society still pigeonholes us into being that main caretaker when really it's a shared responsibility.
Right.
It should be.
I mean, you both made the
Yeah.
baby, right?
Absolutely.
It should be a shared responsibility. And it's really freaking hard
Yeah.
to raise a family. So it should, that's why I believe in paternity leave as well as maternity leave.
Yes.
That's why I believe in men being able to stay home
Mhm.
because the default can't always be on the woman's shoulders.
Right.
Right. So, but maybe the men just need to start saying it. Well, they shouldn't, but maybe it's like, at 30. Yes, I'm retired.
Retire.
I'm retired.
I
If
might
you have
just-
an issue with it, just say you're retired. People will think you're a baller.
It's
If
crossed
that's
my mind, believe me. It's yeah,
right.
Yeah,
Right?
absolutely.
I
It's
mean-
easier sometimes than having to explain
It-
your whole life
But
story.
you're very
so-
successful. It's not that you're not successful. I mean, you own your own business.
Yeah.
You have the flexibility to do the things with the kids.
Well, I think it's why I chose that business again, with the long-term goal in mind that would be what was best, because of what you said earlier, that I could sneak away. And that's the way I don't know if we consciously said that, but that's the way it evolved. So if I knew pretty early on that Kathleen wouldn't be able to get away and take the kids to the doctor if something came up. I mean, she has.
I have. Yeah, no.
But over
Mhm.
over the years, probably I've done that. I've been able to do that more,
Yes.
Right.
So, it just evolved that way,
Mhm.
But
Right.
I again, I don't think it was a conscious decision, but it sort of evolved that way, and that's sort of why I have stayed way longer than I ever planned in this particular business. But yeah.
Well, and I think too that when you have a relationship and you're raising a family and there's that give and take and you give that person the flexibility and you respect the other person for the decisions that they make, that strengthens the whole family in a way that it would be better for you to have knockdown, drag out fights in front of your children all the
Right.
time than have a constant push and pull of like that chip on your shoulder or
Right.
the resentment or so I think that that's why your relationship and your family is so healthy.
Mhm.
And look, I know I I talk to Kathleen. I know not everything is perfect
No.
all the time,
Right.
but that's why it is so great what you've been able to do.
Well,
It's good.
Yeah, no, I think that is, just building that foundation. I think, with us being together for 7 years before we had children, we grew a lot within that time. And I was not in any rush to have children because I had basically raised my brothers and sisters, working with my single mom. And
Because you were the
Well,
oldest.
plus you were only 22.
I know.
23,
I was 22, 23.
24. So.
Well, I was in no rush.
Yeah.
And, but a lot of, like my cousin, from the Midwest, she's like talking to my mom and she's like, Kathleen doesn't have kids yet. And I'm like, and tell her I don't plan on having kids for a long time.
Ooh.
I am not doing that right now. And I love her. She's great. It just wasn't my time. Because, it's just different lifestyles, I guess. Just being around my brothers and sisters, making sure they did their homework, making sure I cooked, I cleaned, I did all that stuff. I didn't really get to go out and do teenage stuff. I worked, I paid bills. So it was my time to just kind of have fun and like learn what it is to be who I am, figuring out who I am, and I'm not just this person, which takes a lot of therapy to get through, by the way. And speaking of therapy,
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
the hardest year of our, the time that we've had together, the hardest year was when my mom died. Like that, I can cry right now.
Yeah, that wasn't a very fun year.
I did not bring any tissues,
know.
so knock
It's
it
okay.
off. I need you to knock it off right now.
Well,
it
was such a hard.
No, I'm giving you the mom finger.
It was such a hard year for me because number one, it was so unexpected. Number two, she was young. Number three, I just was
It happened fast.
It happened so fast. I mean, she was diagnosed and gone in 17 days and we didn't even know she was sick. It was the most horrific thing I've ever experienced in my life. And because I was her right-hand person, and did all this stuff for her. She was written into our retirement plan. I mean, we planned on taking care of her forever. And so I really rebelled that year. I mean, I went to work and I would work all day and I appreciated that because I would sob all the way to work. I would get to the office, wipe my tears, and Perry's like, I feel so bad giving you work to do. And I'm like, I need it. Like, I need the work.
I remember that.
I would just work. And I went and talked to you one time and, and of course she passed away like the week before Mother's Day. So there was nothing easy about that full year. But Dale was so amazing because as much as I pushed him away, as much as I was so angry that I would just, say, you can go, I don't need you. And he would just come and hug me. And he was like, I know this is a hard time for you. This is not who you are. And I'm not leaving you. I'm going to help you through this. And that was a saving grace. That was so difficult. And I appreciate you for sticking around because I was awful. And I'm not an awful person. It just was a really hard time for me.
Well, it's like when a dog's hurt, right? It will snap, right? Because it doesn't have a way to say like, oh, my paw is janky and I need you to take me to the vet, right? It just it will lash out. So I think.
But thank God that was 10 years ago. So it still feels like yesterday sometimes. But we grew through that. And I'm so grateful that you were, so strong to help me through it.
Well, and I think that's an important point too, because I think someone told me once about the anchor and the buoy. So if you have a good relationship, sometimes you're the anchor and sometimes you're the buoy, right? Sometimes you're just floating together, but sometimes, like when your mom died, you were the anchor and Dale had to be the buoy.
Yeah.
But it's not healthy if someone's always the anchor and the other person's always the buoy.
Absolutely.
Right. And it's also not healthy actually if you're always an anchor or a buoy and you're back and forth. Like, so sometimes you're just floating, but sometimes there's give and take.
Yes.
Oh, I know what else I wanted to ask you. Do you believe in 50-50?
Like 50-50 of
people always say, oh, good marriage, you'd be 50-50. So I think that's crap. But anyway, I was just curious.
I don't think we do anything 50-50.
I don't know.
But like, is it like sometimes Kathleen gets her way and then I'm going to get my way equal amount of times or
you bought a pair of boots, so I'm going to go buy a pair of shoes.
Yeah, no, I don't think
we are not like that at all.
Yeah. It's sometimes you're needing more emotional support. Sometimes you might be buying a little bit more for yourself or going to the spa or whatever it is.
Right.
Actually, we
Probably not. You know her.
I
know.
was like, as the words were coming out of my mouth,
Yeah,
I
she
thought, when was the last time you were at a spa?
She doesn't do enough for herself. That's
No.
for sure.
No. I
She-
get my mani-pedis every 2 weeks. I love that. It's my time. Sometimes I'll bring a little an adult beverage with me and just like sit
To the
do
spa?
nothing.
I
Well, no,
love
I'm getting
that.
my
To the
mani-pedi
nail
to the nail
salon.
place.
I
I'm
love
like,
that.
here's my 1990s
But see, that's an
squeegee.
extravagance for Kathleen, where that's baseline for, I think, a lot of women.
True,
So,
that's
It is
That's
that is
true.
true. It's it is baseline for me.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and when I go in, I'm like, how quickly can you get me out of here? I need to be in. I need to be out.
Right.
But anyway, self-care is important.
Right.
It is.
Well, and I think that when you're together for somebody for a long time, things ebb and flow. And just like you talk about the buoy and the anchor, we've talked about this on the podcast without it being a HIPAA violation because I'm not a doctor. I learned I can talk about your personal stuff.
Sure.
Anyway,
You have my permission.
well, last year
It's just a personal violation,
Yeah.
not a HIPAA
Yeah,
violation.
exactly.
That shit's personal.
Exactly. Just don't-
Okay.
No, I'm not going to. Well, anyway, but last year he had such a scary health scare, and it was a whole year of recovery and getting him through it, and still working, all the time at the office, taking care of my family. My kids are not understanding what's happening. They're being emotional and being the snappy dog because they're feeling hurt, and then it's just like sometimes you're just like, okay, universe, I really could use a break right now, and like, what are you like? Throw me a bone, please.
Last year was hard for you.
Yes,
Your mom, the year your mom died was hard, but last year you had a
was
lot.
runner-up. Yeah,
You had a lot thrown at you.
it was a lot.
Well,
so.
I think her responsibility level is much higher now. I think demands are higher, and
More people, more staff,
Right,
more
right.
like work-wise.
and
More,
I think at some point as we age, not that we're knocking on death's door, but
We're just a big age.
The
We're a
reality
big
of
age.
mortality sets in at some
Mhm.
point, and you start thinking, maybe I'm not going to live my whole life with this person. So I think that had an impact last year also.
Well, for me, because I have PTSD for losing my mom
oh,
so
you mean
young.
because like, oh my God, maybe I'm
Yeah.
going to lose my husband.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And you have never thought about that
No,
before.
yeah,
Oh, and then the
100%.
PTSD of your
Yep.
mom's loss, and you're
I think
thinking,
that was a
oh,
big
this
part
is
of it.
act two.
Yes, because he's a big age, and and I, look, my dad died at 56. Even though we didn't have a relationship, I was still responsible for taking care of his estate. Not that he had anything, but I still had to take care of all that stuff, and so that was really interesting, dealing with somebody who, and my husband was great help too, because I had just had Bailey. Bailey's like 2 weeks old, and Dale had to go up to my dad's apartment and clear everything out. And I called the VA. I'm like, just take everything. And I told my husband, I'm like, I don't want anything. The only thing I want is 2 things. I want you to find this thing he took from me, and he didn't have it.
Sucker.
A totem pole, and then this thing of Alaska made from the pipeline. He took both of those from me, and
What a dick.
all the
Yeah,
papers.
it was.
All the
Ugh.
papers. And so he went through everything. He's like, Kathleen, I can't find those 2 things. And I was really pissed off because those were mine from Alaska that he took. And it was the only thing I had. And, but Dale
A
went up there.
totem from Alaska?
A totem
Like a little
pole.
totem pole.
Like,
A totem pole.
totem
You know what,
pole.
girl? I'm
What?
taking you to Alaska next
I
year.
know.
No, do we have to? All right, if Ashley moves this year, do we have to go to Alaska this year?
I don't think so.
I think you should.
Yeah, probably. We probably will. We'll figure it out. And so, and this big, heavy pipeline Alaska thing. And he's like, it's not here, but I'll bring home all the papers. So he brought all the papers home. And I tell you what, those papers are still sitting in a bag, a
Yes,
duffel
they
bag
are.
in the garage. Like, I can't go through them. I've gone through them enough.
You know what I'm going to do for you?
What?
Just give them to me.
Shred
Okay.
'em.
I'm just
Well,
because I'm going to
just-
shred all those motherfuckers.
Okay.
Because you don't need
Let's do
them.
that.
Because you don't care about him.
No,
You don't
right.
need his tax returns from 1974.
I know.
You don't need.
I don't even
You
know
don't
what's
need
anywhere.
his. Doctor's
I think his
note from
driver's license
1983.
anywhere. Can I show
You
you a
don't need
picture
his
of him?
driver's license. He doesn't need it anymore. That bastard's dead.
I know.
I'm going to take care of all that. Just
We'll
give it
talk
to me.
after. I'll arrange that for you.
He's like,
Thank you.
I'm going to drop it off.
Do you have anything you can do with 4 boxes of Beanie Babies? Because
Oh my
I'm trying to clear those out too.
We have the kids as Beanie Babies. They're so rare.
They're
and
very
so
rare.
We saved them for years, and he's pulling them out, and I'm like, oh, I don't know what we're going to do with all these.
Okay, you either have to sell that
I know.
or you have to donate it.
Yes. No, we will. We are. We just need the kids to go through it.
Actually, you know what you could do?
A
I'm
women's
talk about it
shelter
offline.
might be able, or like a crisis center or something like that.
Oh, why don't you give it to a women's crisis center? Because
Yeah.
that would be great.
Yes.
Because, in honor
Because
of your mom.
they all want a bunch of little babies,
Yeah.
Beanie Babies.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Oh, sorry, I digress.
No, it's good.
Okay.
Um,
Beanie Babies. Back on track.
Back on
Yes.
track.
Okay. So, real babies. Did that shift your relationship a lot?
That's a good
Yeah, I think
question.
it'd be hard to say it would be almost impossible for it not to, but not necessarily in a bad way. Just,
No.
I think for me, when we had the kids, that was sort of the final wake up call. Like, okay, you're really an adult, and now there are people dependent on you. And,
Mhm.
if your stuff wasn't together before now, it better be now.
Right. Right.
And
But I
so,
just
but it
loved
didn't change.
I loved our being a mom. Like, I mean, I love being a mom, but I always tell the kids, I'm like, that's when you loved me. And they're like,
Oh, I
we
say that
still
too.
love you.
I'm like, no, you don't.
No, you don't. You just need money.
No, you don't. Exactly. You just need me for
Yes.
things and money. That's it.
Exactly. But when they
It
would
feels like that sometimes.
when I would leave for work and both of them, because their bedrooms are above the garage, would pop the shade open and peek out and wave to me. Like those memories are precious.
Yeah.
They're
Oh,
really precious.
I have all these pictures of Sam when he was younger, like hanging on me or like cuddling with me.
Right.
Now I don't get to cuddle with him unless he's passed out on the floor with me. Anywho,
Dylan hasn't heard that story yet. Well, I'll tell you.
I'll tell.
Yeah.
You can tell him.
But
not the best mom moment, but
happens. It
whatever.
happens.
So, any final thoughts? Anything you think is important for people to do, not do?
I think
Yeah,
communication.
I think so too. It sounds so cliche, but I think the key. If people ask us, like we like to go out, that, and we'll go to restaurants, and if we're talking to a younger person and they ask us our advice on
You mean someone with a small age?
somebody with a small age, yes. If they ask us, what do you contribute your long marriage to? It's so cliche to say communication, but that's so true.
It
I
is
think,
true. It's just talking
and
through everything.
some hard and fast rules we have.
But the thing is also with you is you're very understanding. I think we both are understanding, and I think it goes back to that 50-50 mentality. I think you're going to struggle if you have that mentality.
Because it's not tit for tat.
No, it's not.
It
You
never
just there's some days
But everything works out.
Yes.
It's a pendulum,
at the
right?
end.
It really does.
And there's an
You
ebb
have
and
to
flow,
make sure
so.
that you're getting what you need
Yeah.
and that you're giving the other person what they need
Absolutely.
when they need it.
Yeah. And I guess when times are hard is when you both need it at the
Yes.
same time.
Right.
That's when things can get tricky.
Right.
But
You know
no,
what
I think communication.
Can
Sorry,
I tell
go
you
ahead.
what I tell the young ones, the young girls
The
when
small age girls.
the small age girls? Do you know what I say?
What?
Dale knows. Once a party girl, always a party girl. You can never stifle a party girl.
Oh, I love
But-
that.
I had a nickel for every time girls stumbled out of the bathroom at a club or a bar or a restaurant or whatever and just said, "We love your wife. We want to adopt her. We're going to make her our mom." I would be retired.
Yes, right. I mean, usually I'm in the restroom and they're like, "Oh, you're so cute," and then we start talking, and I'm like, "Look, I was you guys one day, one time, not one day.
One day.
One day I'll be
When
here
I
might be
retire,
here.
I'm coming back, bitches.
Yeah.
Never say never.
But we would get, and it was just really fun. And then they're like,
Can I make note of one thing?
Of course.
And it's kind of a downer, but I think it's important before we
Yes.
leave.
yes,
So you lost a baby.
yes,
We did.
So, and that the statistics on couples who lose a child is like, it's like 70 to 80% get
Right,
divorced.
Yeah.
right.
So everything that you talked about, it's
Mhm.
not like you just walked on this rosy path and nothing ever happened
No.
to you and everything was great and your children are perfect and you guys are perfect. Like
No.
you went through the hardest thing that a couple can go through.
Yes,
And you should, it sounds like the same rules of everything that you talked about, the communication, the giving each other grace, the being the buoy and the anchor.
Yep.
All those things, those were even more important. It wasn't, you had to have that base, but then that's your go-to. That's your safety song. That's
yes,
what you went to in what's the darkest time for a couple.
right.
Yeah.
We still celebrate her on her birthday every year.
Mm-hmm.
He brings flowers. He'll, like this year, I just didn't feel like doing anything. And so he's like, you don't have to do anything. And so I ordered Greek food, which is not even his favorite, but he did it for us, and we did that. And, I think the most important thing is that I think that you always say, growing up, how I grew up, I don't use that as an excuse. I just get up and keep going. And that's what we do. And he's a great cheerleader. And I appreciate that.
Does he have an outfit?
An
Does he have a
outfit for a
cheerleading
outfit? No.
Because if not,
Will Ferrell.
if not, oh, I know what I'm getting him for
Yeah.
Christmas. Oh, yeah.
No, but he's wonderful.
I'm picturing like Will Ferrell.
Yes,
know?
exactly. I'm Terry O'Sherry on the side.
I think you're absolutely right. All of the things that we talked about are helped us get through that, and that not that it wasn't difficult for me, but I could see how much more difficult it was for Kathleen. And that's one circumstance. I have friends who have lost children, in their marriage, and some survived and some didn't, and everybody's circumstances are different. But for us, I think Kathleen bore the brunt of it. Maybe I'm a little bit more pragmatic when it came to that situation. I don't know if that's the right word. For me now, looking back at it, I can't imagine not having the 2 kids I do have.
Mm-hmm.
And we probably wouldn't, if that situation would have worked out differently. So that is easier. It makes it easier for me, I think, probably. But
I just want them all. I want them all 3 here.
That would be ideal. Yeah.
Yeah. I just
I
all
want
3.
you. I want you. I want you.
Exactly.
Well, I love you both so
We love you
much.
and thank you.
Yeah, and it wasn't that
For my
bad,
support.
right, Dale?
Yes.
No, it's not bad.
It wasn't that bad.
Right.
It's not bad.
He
Blink
was like,
once if you mean it.
No, it wasn't bad at all.
No.
It goes fast.
it does go fast. We really have so much fun, and
Sorry for
it's just
tapping the table. Shouldn't
no,
have done
you're
that.
okay.
That's okay. It was your first time.
Yeah.
I say like every other word, so I have been.
And you almost didn't call me a fucker.
I almost. I came
Almost.
real close.
Well, she's gotten
real
much
close.
better at that, actually.
I
And-
haven't.
That was going to be my one.
By the way,
before I came on.
it was your what?
My one rule before I came on.
Oh.
Nicole can't call me a fucker.
Can't call me a fucker.
Well, what I love about it so much is it's a big inside joke because Dale
Yes.
obviously is not
It's
a
not
fucker.
like that.
No.
Is
Well, I
is
can't
that-
be. We all can't be. Let's be
Well, we all
honest,
can be.
I don't.
It's true.
Yeah.
I'm
But
sure.
I try
I'm
to
sure my
limit it.
picture is up
Try to
in
limit it.
someone's bedroom with darts in it.
I
Boyfriends,
am certain.
ex-employees.
I am certain.
100%.
Yep.
So
I love it.
usually we try to close with just one good thing that
Mhm.
happened recently. So you get a moment to think about it. Kathleen, do you want to?
I think it's
That's hard.
my one good thing is actually having Dale on this podcast because we have talked about it, I think, for a long time. Like, we should bring Dale. And then he's like, oh, I don't know what I'm going to talk about. And I'm like, it's just talking. It's just like if we're all hanging out at Nicole's house or, at a restaurant, it's just chit chat. So my one good thing is that you broke the seal. You did it.
See?
Yeah.
I think my one good thing is I've been writing a book and I got through the first third of it and sent it to my editor for editing, and she said it wasn't terrible.
I love it.
So,
Well, wait, you have
Congrats.
another good thing
Thanks.
because you just finished with a great designation.
oh, that too. Yes. So I studied for the SEPA designation and I took the exam, and it was one where they monitor you at your own home taking the exam. And it's a long story, but they had the date wrong when I first went in to take it. So then I had to get on LinkedIn, and I was emailing the instructors and the owners and the people at the anyway, finally someone fixed it. And so 4 hours later, I took the exam, but I was so flustered, I forgot my calculator.
Mm.
So there wasn't that much math, and it was math I could kind of do in my head.
Yes.
And so, but I thought, oh God, I'm not going to pass, but I passed.
Yes.
That's-
Congratulations.
So that was
Congratulations.
2 good things. I got 2. So Dale,
I'm so bad at this. I was
do you
thinking-
want to just say that you're happy I got my SEPA
Well,
designation?
I am so happy for you.
Thank you.
And
You're welcome.
yeah, because I don't think in singularity like that. I was thinking about that before we started the podcast. Again, I've never been good at that interview question where somebody says, "Tell me one time where you worked really hard," and I'm like, "Well, I try to work hard every day." Or so it's not
So
one
give
good thing.
it-
It's just
so
a
take it in
lifetime of
macro.
good things.
A
How about
lifetime
that?
of good things in
Yeah.
your marriage.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to accept that.
Okay.
That's an acceptable answer.
Next time, I'll try to come better.
Next time,
better.
don't be a
Okay.
fucker.
I
and come
forgot
prepared.
about the
Okay.
one good thing.
Thank
At least
you.
we're not asking you to do a mom hack or a dad hack, a life hack. You'd probably
Well,
be
I'd
really
probably
great
be
with
better
that.
at but
Yeah.
I'll think about
Mhm.
that for next time.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right.
All right.
Well, excellent. Well, thank
Cheers.
you, Dale, for coming on. I know this was not easy for you. And cheers and press and hold.
Oh,
yeah.
yes.
You press and
Can't
hold
forget
for
that.
Rick.
Yep.
All right. Cheers,
Cheers.
everyone.
Cheers.
Have a great
Thank
week.
you.
Until next time.
Bye.
Bye.